County Commission, start the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have a copy of the minutes preceding meetings, any additions or corrections?
No.
I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Department heads, Jay Havlin.
Good morning.
Morning.
We've been mainly trying to patch the roads and getting some mowing done on the roads, getting ready for chip sealing. We finally got our other tractor back from Miller, and they got it out on the road. I've got 2 people out mowing today, trying to get the roadsides mowed. They're getting pretty tall.
Yeah, the intersections are.
Yeah, it's getting pretty bad. But I've had everybody else out patching with cold mix and spraying with the patchers, just to get everything where it's passable so we can get out there and chip seal it. We've had some trouble with the oil on our patchers. We get our oil over Union County, and they had what they call a cold load, the first batch they got, and it gets real stringy, and you can't spray it out with patch machines. And we've got it emptied out, and they got another load, and it was up to par, and we've got the guy down from the oil company right now looking at it. He's down there today. I had a guy go with him to check out what he's got to say on it, because it's got, your oil is supposed to be a brown color when it's in the tank and hot, and so it actually got black gobs of stuff floating around in it, and that's what's stopping everything up, and they don't know what's causing it, so we're just waiting on them. But that's,
They'll take care of it, right?
yeah, they will compensate everybody from what they're doing with it and all that, because we actually pay for some of the oil we use over there, and if it ain't no good, we have to go get somewhere else and get it. That's all we can do. But they're going to make it right. That's not all I have.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jay. Maintenance, Bill Gray's not going to be here. He's got a problem over at the jail. He did tell me that the Johnson Controls is going to be here Thursday to look at the pipes up above the clerk's library up there that's leaking. That shouldn't be a problem getting fixed. Ben Houston, IT Director, he's busy and he's not going to be here, he said. County Attorney, AJ.
I wish Ben would be here. He's the one who gets me on the internet. I have 2 things, and maybe I'll go up to the lectern, actually. The first one, I think it was Commissioner Bador who proposed an ordinance amending the speed limit and platted
Yes.
subdivisions at the last meeting, right? I mean, it's not something that's just, on every attorney's repertoire, I think, is the changing of speed limits. But it's actually a little bit more complicated than you guys simply stating, we would like an ordinance to lower the speed limit. I think it was proposed at 20 miles per hour, correct?
That's what Pleasant View is, so we want to
Okay.
make more sense.
Okay. And I apologize, but my repertoire of the subdivisions in Fayette County are not up to snuff. I'm a Union County native myself, so that's where I grew up around. But I was looking at it, and if there's state highways that go through them, the state highways cannot be affected. Okay, those are state law. So that leaves the commissioners able to manipulate only the speed conditions on the county roads. And believe it or not, there's an engineering study that has to be done if you're going to manipulate it below a certain speed limit. And if you're going to go below 30 miles per hour in the, I would call it rural areas, then you're going to have an engineering study and traffic study. If you're going to go down to 20 miles per hour in a urban setting, then you are going to have an engineering and traffic study. So I don't know. I know it's not on the agenda for this meeting. It didn't get on there. I don't know if it was still going to be discussed at this meeting.
So
We're going to let you discuss.
if we make it 30, if it was made 30, do you need the traffic study?
No, you don't.
And that's, to me, that's simple enough.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's just make it 30 on,
That's what I was going to say.
On
Find a way to
all
split the baby in and avoid the engineering and traffic study, but keep it at a speed you guys think is safe and reasonable. I've given you an ordinance, a draft of an ordinance, and I believe on that one it includes a highway.
So what do you want to finalize this and do it the next meeting then?
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
would say. All right. Well, I guess there was a second thing. Last time we had a concerned patron that was discussing a neighbor who was shooting his gun.
In Everton.
In Everton, that's right. And the commissioners, you guys sort of left that in my hands. And I looked into it a fair bit, but I think I started where Frank Jackson left off, and that was the criminal recklessness charge. And I think it's because there's not, as far as I know, any ordinances against firing your gun in the air, especially I don't believe Everton drafts their own. This man is within his rights to a certain degree, and he's within his rights if he's just shooting his gun safely, doing it responsibly. Where it crosses a fine line, and this is actually in the hands of law enforcement, and it's their determination, when it crosses that line, it becomes criminal. And again, this could be if it's going across the road, if he's aiming toward a school, if he's endangering other people. As an attorney, we certainly like to litigate things, and we like, causing trouble. But at the same time, I think I advise clients when they first come into my office that you have to be able to settle this without, some type of legal action. And I think, and I don't know if she's here today. I don't think she
think
is.
so.
I think so.
But maybe just as a generalization here for everybody, you shouldn't feel like you can't go talk to your neighbor first and work these things out. Okay, it should start there, and then it should progress up the chain. All right. Having said that, also the commissioners can't tell the sheriff's department, Billy Wason, what to do. Okay, they can't tell him what laws to enforce. They can certainly make recommendations, but he's an elected official, as they are, and they're not his boss. So it's merely a recommendation. But that's certainly where I start. Okay, thank you. That's all I got.
Thanks, AJ.
Thanks, AJ. Council Representative Shirley?
Oh, wait, you missed something.
What?
Sorry.
What did I miss?
We were going to discuss access to county attorney.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, hold on just a second, Shirley.
It's come to our attention that we have some department heads who are going to the county attorney for every problem they have, and we wanted to state that AJ is the commissioners and the council's attorney. He's not a sounding board for everybody in the courthouse. If they have a problem that they think they need to talk to the county attorney about, that they need to come to the commissioners before and then we'll direct them to the county attorney if we think that's necessary. Because he can't spend all his time solving everybody's little problems.
Mr. President, I would suggest that the auditor send out a notice to all the departments.
Inform them of that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Shirley.
Okay, thank you. You may recall several months ago, probably February or March, we established a couple of committees. One of the committee was to work on the budget, kind of an extension, a continuation of the committee that we had last year in order to look at ways where we could reduce, become more efficient. And so that committee has set up that they're going to start meeting every Wednesday at 5 to go over each of the different department and line items, each of the budget items, because really in less than 3 months we'll be working on the county budget. The second committee I've not had a report from, but we're going to ask that they begin to meet as well, and that was the one that was reviewing the different salary structures or wage structures between the 3 different entities, the courthouse employees, the 911, sheriffs, and then the highway department. I think that's so that we could, when we would be talking about those different salary structures or wage structures in the budget, we'd have a better understanding, a better handle on exactly which policies were went with each of the different groups, which are the employee policies. So I think that's pretty much all that I have.
Okay. Mail?
I had two things. I had received a contract for tax sale for this year, which will be held in October, and I passed that on to AJ, and he's going to look that over, and you can vote at it at the next meeting. And also, Corey just brought this in this morning, and that was his report, his update on what he'd been doing. That's all I have.
Corey's not here, is he?
No.
Okay, that's a list of the fellows that mowing our cemeteries along, the ones along the road to 20, but what he's been doing and when he done. Okay, they're all the mail?
Yeah.
The mayor's here, he wants to address the board for me on a couple of questions. Mayor?
Thank you, Commissioners, for seeing me this morning. I have two requests. Number one, the little island that's at the end of Court Street here that's on your property now between the sidewalk and the parking lot. We'd like to use that beginning this week until the 7th of July to put up a triangular sign about the bicentennial events, kind of like a marquee where you can check those events, and it'll be right across from the headquarters of the bicentennial. We'd like to use that for a three-pronged sign. And secondly, I'd like to ask you to waive the fee for the building permit we purchased for over at the industrial park to build the new restrooms and the Scores building. It was $50, and it's customary that we get those waived when it's another municipality doing that.
I don't see any problem with the sign being over there. I mean, it's just in that little patch of grass. And as far as waiving the fees, we generally,
We'll maintain that grass during that period of time. We'll see that it's cut, trimmed.
I'll move to allow the city to place the sign in the area mentioned by the mayor. Also to, you want two separate motions?
we can put it all in one.
Also to waive the fees for the restrooms being built at the industrial park.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve both projects. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Soapbox Derby, John Pawsey. John?
Morning.
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 Well, we almost got rained out last Saturday. We felt that with the storm that was moving in that we should probably postpone last Saturday's final qualification date, and with the hopes that you would approve us go ahead and moving to this Saturday, the 8th. As it turned out, it didn't rain as much as we thought it would, but it was certainly possible that it could have. The committee did not want to risk getting wooden cars very wet that far ahead of the race, which of course could cause problems with the cars. So I would request that we be able to hold our final qualification date on June 8th, this coming Saturday, and that we'd be able to close the road.
The only thing that was brought to my attention was the fact that the road is closed right now because of an overturned truck, and they're using that Ziegler Road as a detour.
Sure.
So I wouldn't think that anything would happen in the meantime of that, but if it did, I don't, I thought about that as I was going down Ziegler Road. What if that road was closed? How
As
would
an
we-
emergency bypass, we'd get out of the way.
Okay.
You just simply bring the sheriff up there and say, get off the road.
Okay.
So
All right.
that would not be a problem.
That's not going to conflict with Thomas the Tank, is it? I know they're here for 2 weekends in a row.
They're here the 15th and 22nd, and no, we're working in conjunction with them.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I believe the train's coming up that direction so that they can see, what's going on, so that hopefully people will then come down there, so.
I'll move. Do you need a motion?
I don't think so. We can just give our consent. It's just a continuation of what we've been doing.
Fine with me, John.
It's fine.
The other question I wanted to bring up, the committee then asked, what if it rains on the 22nd and 23rd. Of course, we discussed this before, and the consensus then was, well, we'll just wait the rain out and continue. However, the race is built much larger than that now. With our Class A, we estimate it will take 6 hours to get through that class alone with a double elimination tournament. That being said, we came up with a plan for rain dates, which I really hope we don't have to use. But it has to be completed, all the races, before the following weekend, as the JCs are loaning us in conjunction with the barricades that we're using. So we have to get those back to them by the following Saturday. So what we request is that if we get completely rained out on Saturday, that we would then have the ability to close the road on Monday. That way we would go Sunday, Monday. If we're rained out Saturday and Sunday, but then we could then move it to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Move the time back a little bit so parents would be able to make arrangements.
Are you going to be using on Sunday?
22nd and 23rd.
What about the church
We don't start until 2 in the afternoon.
until after
so-
they're done?
Yes.
Okay.
Shouldn't be a conflict. Plus, that's the 7 and 9-year-old class, which we would really not use much of the road. As a matter of fact, Higher Praise is accessible the entire time, so it shouldn't be
Oh,
a
they are?
problem. Oh, yeah.
You mean from the other?
From Gray Road,
From Great Road?
yes.
Yeah.
And we'll be parking on the road out there. We'll have parking attendants to prevent any kind of problems with traffic, but it's still available to them. So that's what I would request, is that we have those date options, and of course, you know, we'd let the highway department know if we had to do that, and talk to whoever we needed to in those instances.
I don't see a problem. You're just going to use it one day instead of the other if it rains, is what it amounts to.
Pretty much, yes.
Right. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
New business, Star Development, Robin Harris.
Star Development, my name is Joyce Lee Carter.
Okay.
Okay.
I had, whoever called, it was a note on my calendar.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
The county has participated in an owner-occupied rehab grant before that we administrated for them. My company is Star Development. We're located in Cambridge City. And for an owner-occupied rehab project, now the state, Indiana Housing, these are HUD funds through HUD. They go down to the Office of Community and Rural Affairs. The Office of Community and Rural Affairs then gives it down to Indiana Housing. They set new perimeters. There's 2 avenues that you can apply upon. One is what they call comprehensive. Comprehensive, you must have a comprehensive plan in force. It has to be within 5 years, and you guys do have a comprehensive
Right.
plan. And with that, anybody in your community that is owner occupied and that they are income qualified can participate in the project. There's another way that you can go, and it's aging in place. Under aging in place, you do not have to have a comprehensive plan, but participants must be income qualified. They must be 55 years of age or older
What is income
or
qualified?
disabled. HUD has established the 80% median income for Fayette County, so they must be at or below that percentage. And it's a certain dollar amount, and I can't really tell you what that is. And it varies between family of 1 up to 9. It increases as it goes. It's similar to, you've probably had an income survey at some time with an Okra grant, and it's just establishing how many people are in that 80% AMI level.
Okay.
So those are all established by HUD, and they're per county. So they must fall within that income level. With this, they do have CDBG funds, which is Community Development Block Grant Funds. And then they do still have, I think, a little bit of the disaster recovery money which is CDBG-D funds. Used to, the D funds did not have to have a match, but now they have changed it, and both pots of money have to have a 10% match. Now, previously what we did, we were able to provide that match by contractors that worked on the project. They were actually donated back material and labor to meet the county's match. So at that point in time, the county did not provide any funds at all for the project. Well, right now, Indiana Housing is wanting to see that you're a little bit unique in how you want to provide your match. You know, I don't know if there's maybe some organizations that you could work with that might not necessarily dollars, or maybe they could donate a little bit of maybe time or something like that. That's something that, you know, you'd have to just kind of think about as far as providing that match, because I know probably, I've never worked with a county that's ever provided cash. Most towns and cities, they do some cash, but I've never worked with a county that has. Indiana Housing went from last year, you could apply for these funds anytime you wanted to. As of April 1st, they have set 2 rounds for this fiscal year. The first round is June 28th, which there's no way that you could hit that. The second round is not until March 2014. I've never had them have such widespread rounds. So those are the 2 times that you could apply for this fiscal year for Indiana Housing. With our firm, what we normally do is that we usually have a workshop to where your community people are invited to come in. We explain the program to them. There is one of the main things that we have to address is lead-based paint. What is done with lead-based paint is it's encapsulated, and we only have to do that if there is chipping, cracking, peeling, or we find lead dust. So we do have a risk assessor that goes out, a lead risk assessor that goes out, and they'll test the property. And that helps us develop the scope of work that's going to be done on each house. So the scope of work is definitely done according to the need of each individual house. Usually that's what we do, is have a workshop. We see how many people are interested, and then we figure out how many people that qualify, and then we come back with a recommendation on maybe which way that you would want to go. If we find that all of your applicants are 55 and over, disabled, then you may want to go with the aging in place, because it's a little bit easier, a little bit less paperwork. So then, of course, all the money funnels through Fayette County. You would be the grantee, and we just help you make sure that you follow the rules and regulations of the program. I really don't want to bombard you with too much information, but also there's no cost to any of the homeowners. There is, unless you set up a program where they could maybe donate some cash toward the project or something like that. We've never worked with that, but like I said, Indiana Housing is wanting some unique ways to provide that match money. And then you as the community would actually bid out the project, receive the bids. We normally take the bids and evaluate them, talk with the contractor, talk with the homeowner, and then bring our recommendations back to you. We also inspect. Also, we have to have a third-party inspector that's licensed that goes out and inspects the homes before the contractors paid their final payment. They have to pass a lead clearance test on the back end before they receive their final payment. So, you know, you guys are in control of the project. We're just there to help you with the paperwork and make sure you follow the rules and regulations. So do you have any questions or anything?
No, ma'am, I don't.
This is probably about the same project you've done in the past, right?
Yes. Yes, it is, other than, you know, you've got to decide if you want to go comprehensive or aging in place. Pretty much it's the same thing,
And find out where you're going to get your matching funds.
right? Try to find something that's unique, because so far, we've got an excellent record. Every project that we have applied for on behalf of the local unit of government has been funded. So we work really hard before we submit an application, because we don't get paid unless it's funded, and our fees come out of grant funds. So, you know, we work really hard, and so we're going to try to get you to where the match is going to be attractive to Indiana Housing, and where they'll, you know, hopefully will want to fund the project. Now, I do know that we have met with the city of Connersville, and so we are currently working with them also on it. We've done at least two with them in previous years too. So, you know, that, I don't know if it might be something that maybe we could go together if there's not enough applicants, you know, for the county or whatever. But then if there
You have a
is,
minimum number of applicants you have to the project?
the maximum number of, maximum dollar amount that you can request is $350,000. $350,000 would take probably between about 14 to 15 participants to be able to, at least to spend that money. And you can put approximately $25,000 into their property, but that's a combination of construction and program delivery fees that you can put in there. So probably, you know, if you would want to, I think Jill called our company because you had had some residents, I think, that knew about the project, you know, knew about it. So Jill had called me and asked me to come down. And, you know, just
Jill who?
in your front, I don't know what her last name is now, in your front office.
Okay.
I think that's who it was.
Okay.
Okay. And asked me to come down because I know we'd had some people that lived out in the county that had been calling our office wanting to know about, you know, if the county was going to proceed in another grant. The one that you got before, I think, had been, for some reason, Indiana Housing decided all at once that they were going to cut funding in half so that they could fund more towns and cities. I think they realized that that's not a very good way to do it. So last time, I think the funds were cut in half. So, you know, we still may have a list of people that are in the county that didn't get to participate the last time. That would be a possibility. So it's a, you know, it's a good project. It helps your homeowners that are low income to help do repairs, health and safety issues on their homes, accessibility issues as they grow older, that they may need a shower that they can walk in and not a tub, and maybe, you know, ramp, things like that.
And this would be a no cost to the county, right?
No cost to the county. And, you know, but you've got to try to get some, you know, inventive ways maybe to make your match attractive.
And that's what you're going to do, right?
Yeah, I'll work with you, sure. Let me know the organizations around and things like that.
Did she talk to Diane?
What about our grant administrator that the city and the county has? Diane Wright?
I know her. I don't think there's a lot of Okra. She works with Okra. There's a lot of those people that do not want to touch Indiana House.
No, we just wanted to know, had you talked to her or tried to coordinate any of this with her?
No, I just got a phone call asking me to be down here, so,
Yeah. Why,
no.
why don't we talk to her and see where she's at on this, and then we can bring this up at our next meeting, which would be the third Tuesday, and go from there.
Yeah, just let me know, if you want me to come down or whatever,
Okay.
just let me know.
Well, like I said, being we do have a grant administrator, that I think we should talk to her and see where she's at on this, and
Absolutely.
then we'll bring this up the next meeting.
Okay.
Could you leave your card with Debbie, please?
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, I will. I'll just drop it off. Charles.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Cemetery restoration, John Walters?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wasn't sure I could be here or not, but we did some schedule changing. I am John Walters. I'm the owner and operator of Graveyard Grimmer. And last year, we worked with the commissioners and on restoration of Nulltown Cemetery and stabilization of Old Orange. Just to bring you right up to date on them, it's just there was approximately 120 stones in Nulltown Cemetery that we tended to during that restoration period, and that was at a cost of $4,000 to the county. And the project at Old Orange was not necessarily to do a complete restoration. It was a stabilization process because there was severely leaning markers and unstable obelisks. So we went in there we gave a bid of 89 stones that were unstable, but as we worked through the cemetery, we actually tended to 144. So we went a little bit above and beyond what the contract was, and that was for a sum of $4,300. Now that leaves us with where we're at this year, and you got one complete cemetery, Nulltown, done, and I believe it looks real well, looks fine. Old Orange has got, here, let me give you my bid first here. Old Orange has still got some problems.
At Old Orange, that you said, John?
Old Orange, it's the older one that's down with the wrought iron fence that just been reworked.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just kind of go over that a little bit. We went in there, and we stabilized the markers, and during that process, we found 15 broken markers that were subsurface. Part of them might be showing, but the rest of them is underground. So we opted not on the stabilization process then, and the bid that we had, that we would wait until we were supposed to come back this year and finish up that. So this bid right here will take care of the entire cemetery. It's 25 obelisks, 55 tablet markers, and 32 total limestone markers that we will be hand cleaning, and then the 15 broken markers that we will tend to. That would complete that cemetery, and it would be a very fine looking cemetery. I'd be proud of it.
I like your card.
Yeah, maybe before and after there.
For those that can't see, this is a before and then an after. And there's like a 360-degree difference there. That's good.
There you go. I've been at it a while. Just to go over some of my qualifications. From 1996 to 2000, I was the Fayette County, Indiana Pioneer Cemetery Supervisor. That's where I got started in this line of work. 2001 to present, I'm the owner and operator of Graveyard Grimmer. In 2001 to present, I instruct classes for the Indiana Historical Society on cemetery restoration. Instruct classes for genealogical groups and other historical societies in several counties and states. In 1997, I took my first tombstone repair class in Franklin, Indiana. In 2000, I attended the Association of Gravestone Studies, I'm so nervous, conference in Washington, D.C. In 2006, I received the Honorable Indiana Historic Preservation Award. 2007, I attended Southeast Cemetery Monument Conservation Workshop in Pensacola, Florida, sponsored by the National Center for Preservation, Technology and Training. 2010, I attended the Yawn Restoration Mortars Training in Hanover, Maryland. I spend 5 days a week in cemeteries, at times it may be 7. I've seen what did not work in the past, and I've learned from that. And I continue to educate myself in all aspects of cemetery restoration and preservation. And it would be an honor for me to restore all the cemeteries within the county in which I've lived here and take a lot of pride in. So I think it's a very fair bid. I couldn't possibly go any lower than that and not lose money. So I hope you would consider that. Any questions?
No, last year when the cemetery commission quit and the commissioner took us over, we hired John to do down there at Middletown and part of Orange and done a super job. And I think we probably ought to finish doing Orange out there. In fact, I'd like for you to speak a little bit, John, we got a new cemetery commission and they're anxious to get started to clean up some of these cemeteries and what ordinary person can do and can't do as far as restoring cemeteries and setting up gravestones and cleaning stones.
Well, there's a lot to be done by a group of concerned citizens, volunteers. You know, we do these educational programs where we do basic and advanced workshops. They're not necessarily just a workshop that you come to for 4 or 5 hours and you go out and start working with these historical markers. They're more to show you what can be done and what should not be done. We do those programs also for Boy Scout groups, Eagle Scouts and things like that. But what we like to do is when you get started in this field is it should be stuck to landscape maintenance. You got to realize that those stones are 150, 160 years old. They're historical markers. Some of them become unstable and they become dangerous because they might weigh 1,000 to 1,500 pounds. So you get inexperienced people working in these yards that could become a danger, especially when they start working with tripods and power equipment and stuff like that. I would like to see this commission get serious and stick to landscape maintenance because there's a whole lot of landscape maintenance things to be done. Once the cemeteries are all cleared out, then a professional crew like myself can come in and work with the stones. Once the stones are all stabilized and restored, the maintenance becomes easier for the contractor that will keep them under control. So there is a place for volunteers. But in my opinion, the group we got now is too inexperienced to be working with the tombstones.
My question for you is the maintenance on these cemeteries as far as the landscaping and grooming. Can you do a cemetery in the spring and the fall and still be able to get in there and do the work, or do you think that it needs to be done on a regular basis? Like as far as mowing the grass?
Depending on the cemetery. You know, cemeteries are different. You got the cemetery that's just a little small plot out in the middle of farmer's field to the one beside the road that's got there for remarkable. So, you know, those cemeteries take different, require different maintenance. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, but
Well, some of the cemeteries you can't get to in the summer when the crops are in.
right. As far as, so you're asking what?
Just basically that they need to do the cemeteries on a regular basis.
Oh, no, or just a couple times a year. The ones, when I was the department head here, you know, I told me to do the ones that's in the farmer's field, we just take care of when the crop came down. You know, I went back up there because the visitors didn't go visit them, you know, when the crops were up. So, and the stones are going to get up and walk away. Everything's going to be there when everything comes back down.
Right.
You know, the ones where the stones get up and walk away, the ones by the road, you know, you can watch them pretty closely. They tend to go and leap over the fence and stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, one thing they do is, I've seen one group down in southern Indiana, and they're a good volunteer group, but to become on their team, you have to attend a basic and an advanced workshop. Everybody that becomes a volunteer in that group. They've done some wonderful things over the years, but they continue to educate themselves. My mouth is so dry. Joe Manis from Harrison Township, trustee, he just got a hold of me in Henry County. And Henry County's got a big volunteer group. They bought a trailer, a whole bunch of tools, and we went up there once and worked one day of carrying them. nice outfit, had everything in it. Well, this guy said after 2 years of volunteers being in this cemetery and one private individual, he wants me to give him a price on fixing all their mistakes, and he won't allow them back in their yard. So, you know, when you go out there without being really educated on how to work with these stones, I think you should leave the stones to somebody that's got the experience. You know, and I've got 16 years experience working with them. I was trying to appalled by this paper said anybody can do it, anyone can do it. You know, that's an insult to me. I spent 16 years working on this. So to say anyone can go out there and work on these stones, it's an insult to me. I'll think around and answer any other questions, but
Well, and I think what was meant by that statement is, not to insult you, I think what it was is to get volunteers to not restore headstones, but to actually come in and do the work as far as clean up and so on and so forth, and I think that's what was meant in the article. But yes, I 100% agree with you, and my question was in the beginning, you're the qualified person, you've been here doing this the whole time, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. My biggest thing is just making sure that we maintain the cemeteries that the taxpayers pay, that they get paid for, and make sure that they're done. And that's where technically that's my job as a commissioner, to make sure that it does get done, and the other commissioners.
I've been concerned about it since 1996.
Right.
You know, all 100 and some of them. You know, we just got to go after the ones that, I would like to see you go after the ones beside the road like you've been doing. You know, once they're restored, it's easier for the quarry to take care of them if he's still the one you're doing with. Then get to them other small ones like that in the future. Believe me, when I found them in 1996, they were all overgrown, hadn't been touched for 20, 30, 40 years. Now I've learned over the last 10 years, a lot of them went back to that state, but they're still there. They can be found again. You know, rescued and then restored and then maintained. So, you know, there's kind of a process. And, you know, not all need to be restored right off the bat. Do the stabilization, that's your most important thing, because kids like to play in them and they get unstable markers, they're gonna ride over them. Several kids have been killed by a falling marker. You know, so we go in there and stabilize them, but they can't be easily pushed over. So it's just a process.
Pleasure.
So what we're looking at is $6,300 to finish over.
Now to finish every stone in there that can be anything done with.
We, Mr. Demkovich established last year that he's, Mr. Walters is the recognized expert, that we don't have to take quotes on this contract. We can just hire him to do that if that's what we wish to do.
Make a motion to continue Mr. Walters' employment with the estimate he has presented for the Old Orange Cemetery for the amount of $6,300.00.
When are you going to start doing as soon as?
Probably right here, you know, within the month of June, or this month of July.
It's going to be done this summer.
Oh, it'll be done. When we get on it, it'll be done, finished in, you know, maybe a matter of a couple of weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay.
I got a crew, you know, 4 people.
Right.
We work on 4 different projects at one time. We only holler at each other when someone needs an extra hand. You know, so there's 4 projects going on there, you know, simultaneously.
Okay.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract for $6,300 to finish the stone restoration in Orange Cemetery by Mr. Walters. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Oh, you take care of it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
While Mr. Walters is here, the Knowltown Cemetery, when that was finished last year, Richie applied for a sign from the Department of Natural Resources, and
He started it and Doug Keller finished it.
Doug Keller finished the application from the Indiana Historical Bureau. And here's a sign that we got in that put down at that cemetery, which will mark that it's a pretty nice looking sign. So we'll set this back here, and either the cemetery commission or Mr. Havlin from the highway department can get this put up.
Probably have Jay put it up since he knows how far it has to be from the road.
Right. You want to just take this, Jay, and put it up, being you know how far the signs have to be back from the road and stuff down to Milltown Cemetery?
I can get with John, he can show me where it needs to be down there.
Okay.
That's the way to do it.
We don't want to stick
We took
it
that
in
old fence and
Joe's
everything.
grave or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We need to be in the right place.
Do you want that set on metal post or wooden post?
I've seen different ways. I'll get with you on that.
Okay.
One thing I want to add about that sign, you know, and I think it's great, once we finish the restoration project, to put a sign like that up.
Right.
What we found throughout the state of using these signs is that it deters vandalism. It's got the Department of Natural Resources name right there.
It's kind of
and
scare
it's all taken
tactic.
care of. So yards that's being restored and those signs put up seem to be not being messed with near as much.
Right.
Vandals and stuff.
Right.
It's kind of a statement too. So,
Thanks, John.
thank you.
Cemetery board.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we've, from our last meeting, from the commissioners, they asked us to get quotes on equipment, 3 different quotes. We actually got 4. And on this grid, if you notice, starting with Lowe's, Wells Lumber, Gilman's, Tom Sells, and we put Tractor Supply in as well, but that didn't meet all the equipment that was there. They only had a select few of them. So, you got a question?
No.
And as you can see, the way this is broke down, can you explain it?
To make it easier to understand, the highlighted areas in yellow, you gave us a price to meet. Your allowance was $2,566.42. The below price in the yellow is, what we came up with was $2,540.51, so we came in below what you requested. Anything highlighted in yellow is included in the totals, and then the totals of each column is below. So our final total is $2,540.51.
Okay.
And as you can see, the majority of it is on one
From Lowe's.
one establishment, but as you can see, there's a couple of the other ones that we feel would better be, cost effective, if you can see where the yellow is on those, and that's what that's highlighted for.
We came across one with Gilman's when they quoted us the weed eaters. Tom Sales also sells still, and he gave us a price on a different one. It was still a high end, but it was a different type. So we called back to Tom Sales and asked for the same quote. So the one in white in Gilman's in the first line, and the one in white in Tom Sales, that's the same dollar for dollar. I mean, not dollar for dollar. It's the same product. You have to buy the head and you have to buy the attachment to go with it. So the top 2 lines, and you can see the difference between Tom's and Gilman's. Tom's came by under what Gilman's quoted us.
Where's Tom's located?
In Brookville.
Brookville?
And he works with a lot of government contracts and agencies.
Well, I'm still a little confused on this. Tom says you've got yellow over here on the side.
To get under the quote, we had to reduce the weed eaters to 3. We started out with 4. And then we still were overusing the high end, the very, very high end one. So we stepped down to the next one. which was the first one that Tom quoted. And you have all their quotes back in the back. We just did this spreadsheet so it would be easier to understand.
So what you're saying is the 25, 40, 51
It's the total
is
price.
the total price, and that would include buying the weed eaters from Tom Sales, not
Yes.
anyone. Yeah, so you
Right.
can shop in other locations
Right.
within that.
Right.
That's the total price
To get
of
the
everything.
better equipment. Tom Sales said the steel had a 2-year warranty, and that's why we decided to try to stay with the steel, because it did have a 2-year warranty.
It's good brand name.
Now, mind you, this is minus gas and supplies. This is just the equipment.
Which I wouldn't think would be much.
I wouldn't think so, no, because we're covering the basic, the bar oil for the chainsaws, we're covering the oil for the 2-cycle oil, that type of thing, but, we will need gas to run the weed eaters and the chainsaws and that type of thing, and we didn't know how we would be, if we had to go to a certain gas station, or if we went to the highway department, we didn't know how that was going to be covered.
You can either buy the gas
Yeah,
and
'cause
get
I don't wanna cross
reimbursed,
the
or
line there.
would that work where you just go and get your gas and bring us a ticket where and get reimbursed for the gas?
How quickly can you get reimbursed? Do you have to wait for each one of your meetings to submit it, or do we just?
Everybody does.
Well, we're just asking, we don't know.
Yeah, yes. I mean, that's twice a month.
If that's the way you would, like for it to be done, that's,
Well, that'd be the simplest way.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Who's liable if someone gets injured with chainsaws or falling trees, or if tombstones get broke when trees fall? I mean, how we gonna approach, is the county completely, if one guy cuts his arm off, just because they signed a waiver, is that?
We have waivers.
County.
That's the idea of the waiver. I mean, it's supposed to cover everything, but the county does specifically for the cemetery board members. It has a workers' compensation policy on each of them, so that's where the liability is supposed to stop with this.
Curious. What about stone breakage? You call me.
Get you
Well,
more.
I guess.
yeah.
We wouldn't mind having you sign one of those waivers either, though.
I'm fully
He's
insured.
fully insured.
Okay.
Okay.
So based off of your recommendation, we did bring you the quotes. I think we went above and beyond what you had asked us to do. And again, if we knew this at the beginning, we wouldn't have had to feel like we wasted a lot of your time and our time to get to where we are now. So based off of what Mr. Jackson was at the last meeting, did we give you the information that you needed?
It's a very nice spreadsheet. It's easy
So it took a lot of time to do that.
to read. Well, if you're no more computer literate than I am, I'm sure it took you a long time.
I learn every day.
Got a question?
Mm-hmm.
Man,
What all equipment are we getting for this 25 besides 3 weed eaters?
I'll let you look at my sheet if you want to.
We
Okay,
can give her one.
all right,
Here, we got one for you.
We can give her.
okay.
I got plenty here.
I think you can check. Sure.
Where's the generator?
Right up there.
Huh?
Right there. At the top, in that one.
Where, Michelle? What,
And
yeah,
drills.
what are we buying a generator and drills for?
Well, we will go back a little bit. We attended Mr. Walter's workshop, and when we were finished, he told us we had all the knowledge we needed to go out and teach our volunteers. Our class was over cleaning and
It's not
straightening.
absolutely true.
Can you let her finish, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
We had a group of 30 people. And, well, I don't know if we had a full 30 that day, but there was 30 per class, Saturday or Friday and Saturday. When we got done, he taught us how to he showed us how to straighten stones. He showed us how to clean stones. He showed us how to clean and polish stones. He showed us how to pour a base for a slotted stone. He showed us how to reset a slab, to put it back in the ground, what to do with it. and told us what the different mixes were for the different mortars. And when we were through, he told the whole class that we had the knowledge to go out and get our volunteers started in cleaning. He told us first you need to clean the cemetery, then you go in and you straighten. And then you go into cleaning the stones. And then the last thing would be restoration. And he told us we had the knowledge to go out and teach our volunteers to do the simple maintenance of the cemetery. And in that class, that simple maintenance was managing the yard, getting things cleaned up and straightening. We didn't go into restoration, however, we do plan to attend a restoration class in the fall, and Mr. Walters did conduct that workshop.
Once again, I'll back up.
You know, we're hoping that he will work with us and continue to train us, because we all enjoy our jobs. We're not doing it for a business. We're doing it because we enjoy it and we want to give back to the community.
So you're not going to go into business for yourself?
No.
From day one, you heard me sit here and say the first time I addressed you, Mr. Walters is the guy to do that. We back him on it. But we are not here for the monetary. I went on record saying that. I've said it several times. And I'll continue to say that. But, just like he said, there's those ones in the cornfields back in the back that you get to later. He said it himself.
That one
20,
now?
30. The cemeteries that you can't get to, that are in fields, that are in the backwoods, that even he said it took him time to find. It grew up 20, 30 years and then it grew up again. He's wanting to do the roadside ones. By all means. When you get volunteers that can do a plot of, 10, 12, just cleaning them, straightening them, what's the problem with saving taxpayers money than contracting that work out?
Well,
We're just simply, okay, let me finish.
You said I
You'll
could
have the
have-
floor, you'll have the
Let-
floor.
Let's don't have no big argument here. We're trying to get this.
We're not,
trying to
but
get
I
this
was
problem
interrupted,
solved.
sir.
All right, go ahead and
Okay.
finish.
And that's, we're giving you the reasoning.
Okay.
We would like to go into these ones and just clean the stones. It's simple, clean the stones.
Mr.
I would
Walters?
suggest hand cleaning only, because you're not the workshops are not, I told you, they're there to teach what can be done, what no longer should be done. Most of my work I do get paid for is fixing good intentions going bad for people. There have been 8 businesses spawned over the last 12 years off of my workshops. I have already went back and redone 6 of those people's yards. You can't gain this in 4 hours of a classroom. You can't gain it at the next workshop. It's to teach you, quit putting cement on them. Don't use iron straps. Don't use bleach. Don't use that. It's an educational thing to teach you knowledge. It don't mean I'm going to teach all of you to be restorations in a period of 8 hours. I think you should do hand cleaning on stable stones, but how do you know which difference in a stable stone, which one's hollow, which one's got infractions in the inside of it, which ones are capable of splitting? I think there's a lot of things. I think you guys are jumping, good intentions, that you're jumping there too quick. I would suggest you have no power equipment to do anything with the tombstones. Because if they're out there in the field, that doesn't mean I don't want to go out there and restore them. There's a big obelisk out there. You plan on working with tripod.
No.
So they was asking about buying a tripod. Well, a tripod, you gotta know about the pendulum effect. You tip over a tripod, you will kill somebody or you'll break a half dozen stones. I've been doing this on a daily basis. There's places for volunteers, but you should leave the tombstones to the profession.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
And this is simple. This doesn't have to be, this is not rocket science, okay? Forget the stones. Forget them, okay? Don't clean, maintain, clean brush, get volunteers to go in and mow the grass, okay? And that's that, okay? And you need this equipment to do that, okay?
Yes.
So, whatever's whatever with the stones, take the generator off and the power tools. Are you okay with that?
If your volunteers care enough about those cemeteries, you will spend time cleaning, caring for them in that way. If you just don't get to do the stones, that's what's going to show me your interest is just doing tombstone repair, and you'll be like them many other companies, you're just gonna go out there and charge people money to do it.
We are
Without-
not.
Oh, I've heard that from many different.
My husband is
people.
66 years old, and he is not gonna go in business. He's retired.
You just don't need any equipment to be messing with the stones, that's my opinion.
We are not going
I'll
to
put my
use,
16 years experience on that.
You need to change your website.
your website says, all you need is a heart. Anybody can do it.
Well, then start slow. What's wrong
We
with starting?
are.
No, you're not.
slow.
Right now,
You're at Orange.
You're not wanting to jump right in on the tombstones. That's not working slow.
Hey, guys,
I wanna do
guys,
restoration.
guys,
I worked 5 years for the county before
Hold
I
on a
ever
minute.
Hold on.
charged anyone.
hold on.
Mr. Walters, Mr. Nichols, let's let them finish doing what they're talking, and then we'll go one at a time down here and try and finish this up.
Okay, with all due respect, when we first got into this, we told you guys we didn't know what we was doing. We asked for direction. We got very little direction. Okay, that's why we're here now. At first, Mr. Walters stood right here and told you he was backing us and he was going to give us lessons and workshops. Which he said, yeah, I mean, he said that himself. You can go back and look. Now, why would he say that if he wasn't concerned on helping us do that? You know, we've told him, we're not going to step on his business. But you know what? He seems to be very booked in other places. His whole itinerary's booked.
How do you know that?
You've told us. You've told us that. You've come up here and said that you're totally
I'm a
booked.
busy man. but I'm
Okay,
business to be busy.
and I'm glad. But the point of it is, why are you so frustrated and why are you so upset with us by wanting to volunteer? That's
Volunteer, cut the grass, trim the trees.
okay. Then you know
Don't use
that's part of
chainsaws
it.
and power equipment until you're in there. Come to several more workshops. Get everybody in your group to come to a workshop.
We're in the mix of that. But we also had you stand right up here and tell us that you was going to educate us on that. But you since come out because you said
You can't educate people that know it all already. I'm telling you, you people just need to back up and.
When we
regroup.
asked for, you know,
Back up and regroup.
listen, we wanted his expertise on it.
All right.
You guys know that. That's why we went.
Is it fair to say that there is enough cleanup, yard work to take the summer out without restoring the headstones?
We weren't even
Get that
speaking of
done and then
restoring.
start cleaning the headstones next year?
Now, see, that's where everybody is so out of line. Restoring has not even been in it. It's cleaning them. And I wish Mr. Walters wouldn't have walked out because in his workshop, he showed them how to clean with the power tools. He showed them.
Well, that wasn't my question. My question is.
I know, but you're saying restoring. That's what I answered.
We're not in restoring.
It's not restoring. The power tools is not restoring
My
the stones,
question
it's
is,
cleaning.
is there plenty of work out there to last the summer just to cleaning up the cemeteries, getting rid of the shrubs, trimming the grass, and then trying to get educated and see if you could start cleaning the headstones next year?
Yes, and I'll tell you that with that yes, just like all the other ones, once you stabilize one, if you don't start doing the restoration as far as cleaning it, Mother Nature's going to take over again. It's going to be a
understand.
never-ending process.
I understand.
So while it's done, that's when you go in.
But from
and-
the pictures I saw last year out in the cemetery where they're growed up and saplings this big around that hadn't been taken care of for years, I would think there would be plenty of that to give you all you wanted to do this summer. I'm just asking if that's correct.
Right. You know, let me ask you this. Let's say we get a workshop. Say 100 people show up. We get it cleaned up. Then you're going to let it sit there and not clean the stones? That's the whole purpose of getting these restored and stabilized as far as Mother Nature. You know, that's just what I'm saying.
Lenny,
Yes, sir.
what we're talking about, okay, is you guys are brand new,
Yep.
okay? So we're talking about you, understand the analogy here. We're talking about you being a baby and crawling before you learn to walk, before you learn to run, okay? What we need you to do, okay, and I hope I'm speaking for the other two, we need you to identify, which I know you already have, the different cemeteries. Identify what needs to be done as far as weed eating, mowing grass, saplings removed, et cetera, okay? And And then that should be plenty of work for the summer, especially there are 92, am I correct, 94 cemeteries? Something like, is that?
Total, it's over 100, but we
Over
have less
100,
than that.
okay.
taken.
Oh, well, that's right, you told me
Right,
107.
Corey does 20, and probably we have 50 to 60 of our own.
And
Okay,
some of
all
those
right.
are associations.
So that's enough work to get you going and keep you going. Then we'll work this thing out about the headstones. Leave the headstones alone for now, okay? Because one more year, they've been there that long, one more year is not going to hurt it. Then we'll work out how to, without impinging on what John does, okay? We'll work out on a criteria for you to do that. Mr. Nichols.
Could you bring those pictures where I've been working out old friends?
Yeah.
Would you like to show them where I've been hanging out old friends, which is the cemetery that Corey is mowing?
What we will do is we'll start cleaning them up, and we'll bring that information to you and let you see how it's cleaned up, and then
Super.
from there, we'll what you guys would entertain on that.
Super.
Now,
Before and after.
you know, we're not trying to get too far ahead, but we are planning ahead, because I remember a couple comments, you know, about volunteers, and you guys were concerned about what will happen a year from now, 2 years from now. We are trying to educate people on being volunteers. We have workshops that could be set up and it's formatted that's from other communities. There's actually people that are very educated that's went through Mr. Walters' workshops, several of them, that are willing to come and help in a workshop. Workshop being a work day, maybe that's the wrong word I use, but a work day, they'll come and they'll help and they'll give their expertise. It's like a buddy helping a buddy. I mean, it's all over. You can go down in Columbus, down in Spring Hill, that's what they're restoring now. A lot of people from different communities are coming and giving their expertise and doing it. You know, and that's what we're trying to establish. You know, if you get 40, 50 people knows what they're doing, they can knock out one by cleaning, not restoring, like we said, and we'll say it time and time again, that's his job.
Okay, in this picture here, before and after, okay, there's one lying on the ground next to it. Can you see?
That's in cement.
Okay, that's not one that had just fallen.
No, it
it's
is
just-
placed in cement like
Okay,
that.
all right.
And on that one, they're not sure, by the looks of it, we're not sure if it was encased in cement or if cement was just put around the sides to eliminate having to weed eat around it all the time,
Okay.
and without using any chemicals.
By the way, David, those look nice.
That's just water and ammonia. That's all it is.
And that's what you took the class with Mr. Walters for?
Exactly. We are not going in, we have not even touched, he does actually, he goes on past and he uses two more brushes, polishes them more, and then he buffs them. We aren't doing that, we're just cleaning them. And it makes the job easier if you have the generator and use the drill. When you're out there in the hot sun and cleaning with the scrub brush, that is really hard.
When you were at the council meeting on April the 2nd, in that $7,000 list or whatever that ended up being, which I didn't get a copy of, but I had in my minutes what you spoke of, that you wanted a tripod, and that was spoke of in there.
You are correct, because we were told in the very beginning that this was a one-shot deal and we had to pick everything we would ever need.
Who told you that?
We were just told that we had to figure out everything we would need at one time. I'm saying, Debbie, we're learning. We're learning, and we're learning the hard way.
So the tripod's not on here, right?
No, it is not.
Okay,
So that, yeah.
No, we are not going to bother with any heavy stones. We cannot.
so we're done with that.
Only
What
things
is the
that we can
generator
handle
and this
personally.
used for? What's the generator and the drills used for?
You use the generator to run the electric drill so you can clean the stones easier and faster. And that's just with ammonia and water.
What you did in the pictures, yeah.
What do you apply it with? What medium?
You just use 4-to-1,
No,
water
no.
to ammonia.
I mean, what do
you
you-
use a brush, a Nylox brush. It's a nylon.
That
which he
fits
taught
on the
us.
drill?
Yes. And Wells is the only one that carries it around here cheap enough. Gilman's was almost $10 a piece. If we bought them by tens, it was $57.50 for a box of 10.
How-
That's just the cleaning brush, that's
How long
not
do they
polishing.
last? I mean, do they wear down quickly?
No, he did, all the stunts he did, it hasn't shown any wear at all.
Okay. Are we ready for a motion, Mr. President?
Yes.
I move to approve the $2,540.51.
That includes the generator and the,
Yes, as presented by the Cemetery Commission for them to be able to do the work that is required with the distinct stipulation that no restoration, no repair work or anything like that be done to any of the headstones.
We appreciate that. Now, how do we need to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Hang on.
okay, and that, you understand that's subject to the council appropriating the money?
Yes. And that was my question going to be, how do we go about getting the form signed to the
I
board?
have
We've got the form.
So you go ahead and modify the monetary number, okay, thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
With the storage building up there,
Get with
Bill
Mr.
Gray.
Gray,
Mr. Gray.
okay, and tell him we've approved for you to store your equipment up there, and he'll make the arrangements or meet you up there or help you scoot stuff around, whatever, okay?
That's the storage building, not the big
Correct.
cemetery
correct.
building with the
Now,
windows.
we had asked you possibly, since we had gone to Vistion and they had, Mr. Bedore has said that there's no shelves or storage in that building, and there was some storage things that we had requested on the
You
list.
want to put shelving up in there, is what you're asking?
We need something to put things on, yes.
Work that out with Mr. Gray, tell him
Okay.
that we don't have problems with that, as long as it doesn't interfere with the other things
Well,
he
they're
has
talking
in
about
there.
getting some shelving up at Vistion off of the city.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
you
had
already
some
had
like
it.
storage drawers for, small tools and.
Why don't you go up there and see what you got in there first?
We had made a list and given it,
It's empty.
Well,
To
you
Mr.
had
Furman.
discs and all
No
sorts of
shelving
stuff
up.
up there.
well,
What
we
you're
can,
doing,
we
you
can
got a big
cross
building.
those
Stuff
off.
I had
We don't
there.
need the desk if we have.
Right, you're not gonna have room for a whole lot of
No.
stuff up there in
No.
that.
Some of the stuff
Zane
needs to be
says
up off the
it's
floor.
completely empty, so as far as I'm concerned, if you want to put shelves up there,
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, but we also need Mr. Barker to approve it to Mr. Urban to have the storage items, because then he has to take it to the Board of Works to get approval from them also.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, do what?
To go to Vistion, they
Oh,
have to,
okay.
We,
the mayor.
the commissioners have to ask the city to donate that to
Donate,
the
okay.
county. Okay.
Mrs. Holmes, did you have anything that you wanted to say on?
While you're up there, where are we at on getting volunteers to adopt some of these cemeteries and take care of some of this cleaning up, trimming?
We have one couple that we haven't let them adopt them yet. They've started caring for it. We instructed them, not to use any weed killer. We went out and showed them what to do, what not to do. Once we get groups going and we get rules established for adoption, like what your requirements are and who do you report to when you do the mowing or trimming or whatever. But we have lots of people wanting to, but we haven't been able to start because if we didn't have any equipment, we couldn't very well get them together and then say, well, sorry, we
I was
can't do
hoping that
it.
they would just adopt the cemetery and take their own equipment.
They might in the end, you don't know, but
Well, I mean, if that's
basically the
something-
equipment's for us to teach them with and do our work that we have to do also.
Mr. Barker, if that's something that you guys would like to do, let the people know. Let the people know what you would like.
Well,
Because,
I understood from when you was here before that that was a project you was gonna work on, getting people to.
right, but, I'm not gonna ask them to always go and use their own equipment. That's what you asked. So, I mean, if that's something that you want to do, I can't speak for yourself.
Right.
But, appeal to the people, see what happens. And they might volunteer. They might bring that stuff. I can't
Well,
speak for
let's see
them.
how you get along here for a while.
Right. But there are some that want to adopt some of them that's on the Corey's contract. So, we don't know how about to go about that, which you guys would
Well, they'll just
interfere.
have, just have to come to us.
Right, see, so that's why we've kind of put a stop on that.
Dave,
So have we taken care of you for today then?
I think Dave has a question, and then there had some people here that came to our meeting.
Well, I'll address them.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Dave?
Did you show the picture of the couple who adopted the cemetery on, which they went out, Memorial Day weekend, and they were cleaning up that cemetery. It's on the road to their house.
Mrs. Kirk?
These people have adopted.
They haven't adopted yet,
Oh,
they
okay.
want to.
They want to.
We haven't set, you know,
And where is this, I'm sorry?
it's the one, what's the name of that cemetery? What road is it on?
Drenman, it's on Chapel Hill.
You go out past Old Orange, and you go straight out, and after you go through the S curve, it's kind of up on the hill on the right.
The only thing is with adoption on the cemeteries, and I think it's a great idea, you know, for people to take over the cemeteries. But everyone in this room that lives in Fayette County has a tax imposed on them for the maintenance of cemeteries. And then that kind of, it's a balancing act, because now they're paying their gas, their mowers, their this, their that, and they're already paying a tax on it, and then they're doing it, so it's kind of
Well,
a...
my point being, some places do take care of their cemeteries on a volunteer basis.
Right, which is a good
That
idea.
could be accomplished, you could do away with the tax.
Right.
Mr. President, can we have a 5-minute break, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, just real quick, and I'm sorry, on the adoption process, like a form or a pledge or something, do you want us to come up with a little process on that and bring it to you?
Yeah,
Or
that'd be a
any
good
adoption?
idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any ideas? And we'll- All right. Thank you. We
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Lenny.
Elizabeth, did you want to address the board concerning the cemeteries or any one of this
This,
fine crowd here?
they all went to. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Holmes, and I brought Ann Bryson and Sarah Plow with me, and we were just here to encourage you to do pretty much what you've done, get an organized plan to take care of the cemeteries. We are particularly interested in the Brumfield Cemetery that's over on the hill by Nulltown, but we're interested in all of them. And I know before Memorial Day, you know, a lot of them were not taken care of, and grass was up to your knees and everything. So I think Mr. Bedore asked the right question too. It takes more than just spring and fall. I mean, it takes an organized plan, and how to go about doing the stones, that sounds like, you know, that needs some more thought, but we are just mainly interested in getting them cleared up and getting a plan, you know, that's ongoing. I think maybe Ann has some questions, and Sarah might have some questions too, so.
Yeah?
Do I need to
Thank
go
you.
up there?
Yes, ma'am. State your name and what you want.
Well, my name is Ann Bryson. That's my husband Eric. He usually does the heavy work. I've thought up my questions while we were sitting here, and so there are about 100 cemeteries. Is that correct?
That's what they tell us.
Okay. Well, as I've been listening, I see two categories. One is maintenance, which I figure is weeds and grass and mowing. The other category is restoration. Two different things, two different groups. And I think the ones who are going to maintain it don't touch the stones. If you want to, you know, some of them are shoved over, you want to move it to do grass, whatever. But that's not our thing. Shouldn't be. I think the man who left is more interested in getting his business protected than anything else. And that's what we're built on, competition. So if somebody goes into the stone cleaning business, that's his problem. But I don't think we need to touch that. Now, I was wondering about the equipment. Where are the lawnmowers?
Well, I'll answer that if you want me to. The lawnmowers that were in part of the cemetery department when Mr. Moorhead resigned, so there was a lot of things that really wasn't usable up there, but how many mowers? Were there 2 mowers that were taken down to the highway department? And then there was a lot of equipment, not a lot of, but there was equipment that was sold at Coons auction last year, and the proceeds from that sale were deposited back into the cemetery fund. There was some things that were sold for the highway and some things for the cemetery. When the check came in from Coons, it was all sorted out. Certain monies, that was this cemetery money, and I had a list, and that was put in the cemetery fund. And I'm going into detail on that because I keep hearing questions about what happened to that money. Well, the money was put right back into Fund 236, which is the cemetery.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm not really familiar with any of these cemeteries. The only one I've really seen is that Brumfield. Now, you're going to need a lawnmower to do that. Some people are weed eating freaks, and I'm not one of them. That's for trimming, not for big stuff like this. But anyway, there's a man down there, his name's Baker, and he's been mowing that. He has a riding lawnmower, but when he goes between the stones, he has to use his push lawnmower. He cannot weed eat, he has a back problem, doesn't do vibrating things, and why would you ask him to anyway? But I'm wondering, is there some way to reimburse him for his gasoline, at least? Do you have, like, you're not allowed to have slush funds, are you?
No, we don't.
Okay. So,
if it was approved by someone, then they could turn in a bill, I guess, and we could pay it out of cemetery fund, the same way
It
we
would be
would pay
just
for
like the
the
same
other.
thing as reimbursing the cemetery commission for the gas that they're using.
okay, so he could get the money for his gasoline,
Right, I mean,
Yeah.
because he is using his own mowers,
Yeah,
which when you have those lawnmowers, you get into a transportation problem.
which would be, if we get into adopting the
Yeah.
cemetery or somebody, we can work that out, yes.
Okay, all right. So,
If can
I
weigh
guess
in-
then I can tell him that he,
No,
what?
Auntie, if I can weigh in for a second though, okay? Usually you go before the commissioners, before you've done the mowing, before
Right.
the appropriation takes place. Just a point of orders.
yeah.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
give us a bill after the fact, let us know
Well,
it's
he's
coming.
just going, he just does it out of the goodness of it. He's a veteran,
And that's what we need.
and
more-
he
more-
does not want other veterans to be in a cemetery that look like that. This is he's really pretty obsessive about it. And there are those little round metal things with the flags on them. Well, somehow or other, one he didn't know where it belonged. Well, he is obsessing over this, getting it in the right place, and I'm like, God, just stick it in somewhere. You'll never know.
There you go.
You'll never know where it belongs. But he really wants to do this and do it right, and he only does it because it was there. Now, there's a lot of he said, she said, so I'm just repeating what I heard. Somebody, I could give you a name, but probably I shouldn't, told him that the cemetery belonged to him. This is your cemetery. Now, you can keep anyone from going back into that cemetery that you want to. You don't want them going back there, then don't let them go back there. Mr. Baker says, I don't think that's quite right. But that's what he was told. It is your cemetery, not my cemetery. I don't want a cemetery. So that's
Well, the
how that-
Pioneer cemeteries belong to the taxpayers of Fayette County.
That's exactly right, and that's what he said. I don't think so. But I think it would be nice because this is something the volunteers won't have to do. You've already got one, and he goes up there and does it.
Okay.
So if we could figure a way, so now, then, how do we do this then, AJ? We want to be legal to get him some gasoline money.
I think it would be appropriate if he came in, just like yourself or the other cemetery commission, and you request an appropriation ahead of time, he's gonna say. Or he works in conjunction with the cemetery commission we already have, and gets reimbursements either via that organization, or he can ask for it directly from the county commissioners.
So he could come as we have come today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because he's kind of a loner guy, and I don't think he would go for a meeting very well. We could give it a shot, but he is a loner guy. Okay. Well, I think that's all I was thinking of.
Okay.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome, but Sarah and Eric probably had something to say. I knew he would.
Before I forget, because she spoke about getting reimbursement, could he turn the receipts into us and then us turn them into the county and get reimbursement? And we can-
Just have him.
Gotta
Just have
have
him
him.
turn his own in. I told Barton probably the thing to do would be to do a transfer request from the stone restoration into a supply line, which would have to be heard at council tonight, to have it ready there for that purpose.
And I think the overall policy is that the taxpayer money,
Right.
the commissioners can't be too careful with it. And if there's an established line.
Yeah, and just so we know, like, for instance, Joe Doe comes in here and says, well, I've been mowing such and such a cemetery, here's my bill for gas. Well, we need to have a list of those people that have been approved, so that in my office, we could go ahead and get them reimbursed who really do have, but don't have everybody coming out of the woodwork saying they've been mowing it and want their gas money back.
So he needs to be approved.
Yeah, we'll just maybe we just keep a list of approved people that are doing that work that are allowed to have reimbursement.
And he
from
should
that.
also keep track of the dates that he does it.
I don't know
Well,
how
I would think
specifically
so.
want to.
I would, you don't just come in here and say you did it. You tell me when you did it.
Well, and we could give him a claim to fill out. This is the reimbursement for gas for mowing cemeteries on that particular cemetery on this date and this date, and along with a receipt for the gas. And I know that's kind of be hard because you put it in your mower and then you might use your mower for other things, but,
So that would be in the auditor's office?
yes.
Right, yeah. Mr. Bryce?
Eric Bryson, I really don't do the heavy work she does. I just have one comment, and this hasn't do anything with the cemetery, it's the speed limit thing you were discussing. When you go beyond the Indiana statute in lowering the speed limit, I think the public needs to be aware of who can enforce those county ordinances.
Right.
And who cannot. And I don't know who's requesting the speed limits, but.
Well, the residents in the subdivisions are requesting.
Okay,
a
but those
speed
residents
limit,
may expect
like-
other officers to enforce something that they can't enforce because it's not promulgated under Indiana law. In other words, your urban speed limit's promulgated, your rural speed limits are, if you keep your ordinance within those. But when you go beyond,
Right.
as
Well, that's what AJ was telling us.
AJ was talking about, the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit is now a county ordinance.
Right. That's why we decided
Backed
to do.
by state statute.
Yeah, I don't know how Pleasant View has a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. How that come about, I have no idea.
Those are things I think you need to think about
Yeah,
when you
that's what Mr. Bryson there's getting the big bucks for.
give it a go. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'll add that Mr. Bryson would know a thing or two about this. He is an ex-Indiana State Trooper.
Yeah, I know.
Who, forever, I have have tried to get to enforce the 30-mile speed limit in front of our house, and he will not do it.
If you can't do it, I don't know who can.
Well, you know, he's got an excuse for that, and I'm like, it says 30. Why doesn't it mean 30?
Well, like in my neighborhood, there's no speed limit, so I was informed by the sheriff it's 55. And in Meadow Springs, that's fast.
Inside Meadow Springs?
Yes.
Because it's not, there's no
I
sign,
think under Indiana statute, fall under urban,
which would be 45.
which would be 30.
Okay.
But again, it can fluctuate. It doesn't have to.
But then that would be an interpretation.
Yeah.
But Mr. Jackson ought to know.
Well, you got,
I'm a detective.
Well, we all failed the test
I
today.
don't
Let's go on.
think I'm a detective.
Drug Coalition Grant.
I'll speak for that. Joey Laughlin got called to court this morning, so he couldn't make the presentation. What he's requesting is, I'll give you a list, and I've already given Debbie a copy. He's requesting monies from the Drug Free Community Fund to go to the Fayette County Drug Abuse Prevention Coalition. And it's $3,250 to the Haven, which is a whole family community initiative. The same amount to the drug test program for the middle school. $2,500 to Living in Balance, that goes to Centerstone. $2,500 Motivational Enhancement Treatment Group, Centerstone. $1,200 to Recovery Transition Program, House of Ruth. To the Justice and Law Enforcement, $3,380 to the Indiana Drug Enforcement Association, that goes to the Rough Task Force. And $2,299.95 to a request for PVT's portable breath testers that officers use on the scene before they actually go to a data master. And $6,250. This money goes to the Red Ribbon Week at Fayette County Schools. $1,000 will go to the After Prom Committee, and also to pay for a program coordinator for the group.
and this is grant money?
Yes.
Or requesting grant money?
Yeah. Requesting money from the Drug Free Community Fund to go to the Drug Abuse Prevention Coalition.
Need a motion?
Yes.
I'll put in a motion to accept the 2013 Fayette County Drug Abuse Prevention Coalition grant, as said by Commissioner Jackson.
Second.
Been moved and second to accept the proposal for spending the money in the grant. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is full care grant. Debbie Kidd.
Act, Affordable Care Act. Well, ever since the Affordable Care Act and that everybody refers to as Obamacare went into effect, I started hearing that certain part-time employees would be classified under the act as full-time employees in providing insurance for those employees. I was hoping that at the auditors conference I was at a couple weeks ago that they were going to specifically address this. They kind of didn't. I got to talking to other auditors, and they said that their insurance company was giving them guidance on that. So on the 13th, I believe it is, or the 13th, our insurance representative is going to be in and discuss that, maybe some other issues. Then I've started just in the last few days, there's been a lot of back and forth between all the auditors. And I had specifically talked to a couple of different auditors. Randolph County was one specifically, a conference that said that they were going to hold their part-time people down to 28 hours a week. It says 30 hours and then they're considered. Well, the other thing is you can't just start that January 1 of 14 because there is a 6-month look-back period. They're going to make their look-back period start in June, probably run through November. I think probably for ours, we probably need to have our look-back period be July through December. But they'll look at that and they'll take the average of the part-time employees, and there are probably a couple departments that are really going to have to curtail part-time hours. The only department head that has come to me about this, and she's being very proactive about it, and that is Michelle Dudley in Community Corrections. And she's going to balance hers out because of scheduling, like she schedules 8-hour shifts, so it's kind of hard to break up. She planned on keeping it at the 28 hours and how to make that work. So what she's going to do on her part-time employees, she'll work them 1 week of the 2-week period, 32, and the other she'll do them 28 hours and get it to balance out that way. I think the idea of keeping it at 28 hours there are always going to be certain things that come up, like for instance, say 911, you've got a person on shift and the other person that's supposed to come in doesn't show up, and you have to stay in place until somebody else can get in to take that shift. So you got to have, so 28 allows you a little bit of flexibility because it's going to be an average. And then the department heads are going to have to be, they're really going to have to watch their part-time hours closely. I'd suggest I make a spreadsheet up or something and make sure they're maintaining that rate to where they don't go over the 30 hours. So I was concerned if we wait, if we wait another 2 weeks, then the clock is ticking on getting, and some of these people may already be scheduled, and I would really like for commissioners to make a motion that, that we hold now part-time hours on people that work part-time year-round down to 28 hours a week. The penalties for going over that, like for instance, you would have to have in place to offer them some form of insurance, and then there's criteria on what percentage they could pay for that. But if you didn't offer them any insurance and one of the people went to I'm trying to think, it's kind of the insurance, I forget their name, their wording for it, but if they go to get insurance under the act, if they go to get health care, then the county can be dinged $3,000 each a year for every one of those employees. So the fees could mount up. There's different penalties involved. So I think we need to be proactive because we cannot increase our health insurance costs. We just can't.
We can just plain can't afford to
We
let
can't.
the hours go over.
Yeah.
We can't hardly afford the insurance we've got for a full-time.
So that I understand, you're talking about keeping part-time employees to 28 hours per week, but what about overtime? Does that mess it up, or?
If they're working 28 hours a week, they're not going to have overtime, so.
There will be no overtime that can be included, right?
It has to
Well-
average out under the 30.
Yeah, like for instance.
So you're leaving yourself a cushion there, a couple
Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
So
But their overtime goes with if they work more than 40 hours per week. That's per the Fair Labor Standards Act.
then they would be considered full-time if they did that, correct? On a
Yeah.
regular basis.
I think it's going to cause every department that has part-time employees to start really looking at what they have. I mean, if they can't, if they're relying on part-time employees so heavily, this is something we need to get a handle on and try to address at budget time because, if they need to add people into,
I'll talk to the 911 director as soon as I get over there today.
okay, you're on that board.
Yes.
Okay.
So we need a motion.
Well, I think we do.
We need a motion that everybody holds their part-time employees to 28 hours.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second to approve holding the part-time hours to 28. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I also have something else, and did you guys get in your box a resolution? I see Zane has one there. This is just a resolution. I didn't know whether we did or didn't need one, but I thought to err on the side of caution. you should probably go ahead and approve one. And that is a resolution authorizing direct deposit, which hopefully will start with.
This paycheck, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, if we can. What you have to do, you have to send a pre-note through, and that's taken a couple weeks. It's to get the file right that the bank would accept, and then we had one person, they had money deposited into a savings account, and they left a digit out of their savings account number, so that came up, so we have to send that person's through again. So we're hoping to be ready to go with it this coming paycheck on Friday. So there were a few employees that did not have, they would offer a card, like a debit card, that you load money on that card if people don't have a checking account or savings account. And we were at 8, and we had to have 10 to start out into that to where we could have those cards. So Kathy and I said, well, we'll take a little bit of our check and we would put it on a card to where we get up to the 10, so we could go ahead and have the card. So, but that won't go into effect yet because we don't have the cards yet. So those people would get checks this time. But anyone else, hopefully, barring everything goes clear, that file was resubmitted last night. We'll be able to go forward with it, and we have to have the money in the. Well, we have to have it completed and all that sent to the bank on Wednesday. So that's why it's been really imperative that department heads get their payroll, a correct payroll submitted to us so that we can get it completed in a timely manner. Otherwise, going to hold everybody up, so.
Mr. President, I'll move to, that we adopt a resolution of the Fayette County Board of Commissioners authorizing employees to be paid by direct deposit for what Mrs. Kidd has told us.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to authorize the county employees to be paid by direct deposit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is architect for the highway garage. As many of you know, I've been concerned about our highway garage down here. It's in terrible shape. In fact, we've had some people down there say it's not safe to be in. We would like to build a new garage. That money would come from cum cap money, which can't be used for the general fund, and we do have money in there. The first thing we have to do is hire an architect. And I would like to go ahead and advertise for a RFQ. Is that the right terminology? Request for qualifications for an architect, subject to the county council giving their blessing on spending the money. I'm going to be addressing the council tonight, asking them for money from the cum cap to build a highway garage, and there's no need to hire an architect if we can't get the money. So I would like to have a motion approved to advertise for RFQs for an architect subject to the council approving money for the garage.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve advertising for an RFQ for architect. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Patrons' concerns? Anybody got?
Oh, you skipped Nancy's back there. Did
Who?
she want, Nancy Lingle, you want to address election board?
And Melinda says she has already talked to all three of them,
Okay.
and I'm just here to find out what they say.
Okay.
And if you have any questions to ask me, I'll be willing to answer.
Well, the question come up about putting in paying for the election board, and this is an off-year election, and why we never have done that before, and why we're doing it this year.
We never have done that before, but most of your counties do. And we do election work on our off years. Now, right now, we're having meetings and different things, and we've already had one on the satellite. And there's other things that we got to address, like there's districts and all this stuff.
The question come up because you never have You never have been paid in an off-year election
They
before.
never have, but most counties do.
I talked to 3 counties that don't, but I'm not, I just wanted to make sure it was correct to pay it because it was not
She has
election.
sent you some emails on the counties, what the counties they say.
Uh-huh.
And most of your counties do get paid on the off year because they don't stop on an off year. They just keep working on elections and different things that you've got to do.
Well, it came up, and I'm not, it isn't anything against anybody on the election board, and I know you guys do what you're supposed to do. But it came up, and our payroll clerk question, it said, why are we getting this on a non-election year? Well, the council did put it in the budget. Then I called State Board of Accounts, and I said, I just need, can we or can't we? And he said, he checked, and he had, at the time he was at Delaware County, he said, well, Delaware County doesn't pay them. He said, I would have thought it, that if any of the counties would pay, Delaware would have, but they didn't. And then I talked to Randolph County, and they didn't, and I talked to Union County, and they didn't. And I don't think they do down in Franklin County, so it was kind of threw me off. So I thought, the bad thing is about payroll, when payroll was approved, it's after the fact. And now, it's really hard to make a correction in payroll, especially now that we're not going to be issuing checks, it's going to be direct deposit. Then you've already given anybody the money, and I don't ever want to go back and say, well, we need that money back, we shouldn't have paid you, so.
Well, she said she has already discussed it with all 3 of the commissioners. And it was okayed in the budget, and what is it, the 144?
Yeah, there is a 144 approved for it.
Okayed, and she couldn't understand why she wasn't told before the fact that it would not happen.
Well, we didn't know until it came, this probably is, it's only every 4 years that you have a non-election year, so I went back and looked at those other years, and it wasn't.
Well, we never have been paid.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I said, we are having meetings throughout the year, even on an election year. And we
So what you're saying, there's more work this year than there has been in the past?
You mean on an off year?
Yes.
Well, we'd be doing the same thing, only this time we'd be getting paid for it instead of not paid. We have a lot more work to do. Your census figures have not changed, but your districts, some of your districts are over and above the amount of people that's supposed to be in it, in your areas. And that's gotta be worked on. There's a lot of things that has to be worked on. And like I was telling the newspaper when we had our meeting on the other thing, if we have to go to these electronic things, that's a lot of, that the county would have to buy. We turned that down because we know the county can't afford it. And that's why we're not going to satellite voting. There's a lot of complications in it. You're going to have to get longer training than what, because they're going to have to learn to rely and call the election board when things go wrong. The past election, the city election, they did not do that. And there was a lot of complications. So, we do the work all year long, we just never have to pay for it. And a lot of your counties do get paid for this. She said she sent you some emails.
I didn't have.
No,
Mr.
Barker.
Mr. Barker, okay.
If she did, she sent them last night. I haven't read them yet.
She's at a meeting with Congress right now.
Yeah.
And the State Board cannot call, so she had to be there.
I spoke to, after she called me while I was in Indy, and I spoke with Mrs. Wise. She checked her notes from the budget hearings that the council had. She couldn't find anything specific, but she said that it was her impression that if the council allocated those funds, they were intended. They were allocated for that purpose. That they were aware. Am I speaking correctly, Shirley? Yes. Okay, thank you.
So do we need a motion?
It's in the bills.
Well, I just wanted to know because we have a payroll on Friday, and I want to know, put it in or not to put it in, or if we're holding or whatever. It wasn't any, I just thought, because to tell you the truth, I talked to one council member that said, dang, we missed that when they left it in the budget. So, you know.
You know, the concern was that the county's so tight on money, don't have money, you know, and this was an extra expense that wasn't usually paid.
I'm sorry.
One of the concerns was the county is in dire straits as far as finances is concerned, as you well know, and this is expenses that are normally not paid in off-year election. This is the first time it's ever been done. That's,
Yeah, it's never been done, but it
Now-
is in other counties.
Now, one thing, the supervisor of State Board of Accounts made the comment, he said, you know, I mean, law allows it. He first looked to the code and said, yes. I mean, it doesn't specifically state one way or another, that it's only to be paid in election years or whatever, you know. And he said, there's probably an argument to be made if you look out over the span of a 4-year period, they do enough work in that 4 years to justify the payment for the off year, is what, you know, was his comment on the matter. So I just wanted some direction to know what to do, so.
But we do have our meetings and do work on other stuff during your off year.
okay.
Just to say, for me to go ahead and include it in the payroll this
Well,
time.
you know, I don't
Yeah.
see as we have any choice, being it's in the budget, they've already done the work. You know, we can address it the next time this happens, but
Yeah.
in the budget. Is there any other patients' concerns?
Need a motion?
Well, I don't know, yeah. I'd feel more comfortable with the motion for me.
I move to
Allow the claim?
allow the claim.
Okay, and it'll be in the claims and payroll anyway, but we can go ahead and do it as separate.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, allow the claim for the election board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now, are there any more patient concerns?
If I may, we had a health board meeting last night, and we presented an ordinance amending the fee schedule. The coroner's fee for every death certificate we sell, the coroner right now gets $1.75 for education. July 1st, that goes up. So we would like to submit a ordinance amending our death certificate fees to $15 each, and our birth records to $15 per certificate.
And they have been what?
10.
Okay.
10.
So
We
it's
had been, the health department's been absorbing that coroner's fee up until now. So anyway, I've got an ordinance, the board passed it last night, but I need to present it to you guys.
Okay. Give it to AJ if he gives her a blessing.
So
then
it's
we'll-
going, Terry, from $10 to $15?
To 15,
Yes.
yes, birth and death.
Okay.
Now, any ordinance, yeah, and any
Yeah, I
ordinance
think-
has to be advertised after passing if it has to do with money.
Will it be able to be done by July 1st?
Yes, we'll do it at the next meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and advertise it
AJ
after
will
they
have a chance to
approve
look
it.
it over and give his recommendation.
Because I think that the county will have, what they did last night, did they do an ordinance, or is that a proposed ordinance for the council commissioners?
This, I
talk
wrote
to you
this
after the
ordinance, that was,
Well, that's just it. I'm gonna wanna look top to bottom to see where this should have originated at, period.
Okay.
That's,
And is it council or commissioners?
yeah, that's a great question as well.
I've always brought all of our ordinances to the commissioners.
Commissioners, okay.
I've never taken them to.
AJ will
I
find
wasn't
out and
sure,
give it to us
yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Pardon?
AJ will find out and give it
Okay.
to us next meeting.
All right, thank you.
I'll go
Okay.
ahead and put you on the agenda then for
Okay.
next meeting about this.
All right. Okay.
Anybody else? Sir?
Can I address the allegations against Mr. Walters made against me? I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm not.
Well, I hate to beat a dead horse too, and this, you know, sometimes it's better just to not to keep the agitation going. I mean, whatever you want to do. There's a podium if you want to, if you think it's,
It was just about my qualifications to operate a tripod.
well, I didn't hear that, but you're welcome to come up here and say whatever you want to say.
All right, all right. I mean, I worked for the Corps for 31 and a half years, and, you know, I had training and all that stuff. I was like,
Like I say, you're welcome to get up there. I just, you know, I hate for this cemetery project to be the main source of controversy every meeting, you know?
we won't be back in.
Is there any other patrons' concerns? Need approval of the bill of claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the claims and payroll be approved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Nothing further, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, meeting be adjourned. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.